Chapter 37. Another compilation had entered our little world. With the rise of Helene Madison and now another world champion, Jack Medica, Seattle had indeed become the swimming capital of the country. During this time, the new prestigious Washington Athletic Club had been built and had lured swimming coach Ray Daughters from his position at Crystal Pool. Competition for spots on the team was fierce. As was expected, most of the top seniors followed Ray. The junior swimmers remained at Crystal with Don Vickers, Ray's former assistant. I was doing well in the senior breaststroke, and although Dor was still in the junior races, it was the speculation of Seattle coaches that she was headed for the top. Both Dor and I were asked to swim for the new club. We were as excited as if we had been told we were moving to the mansion. Papa had misgivings. Training under Ray Daughters was grueling. Papa knew that Dor often trained beyond her physical strength and suffered because of it. There was also the question of what to do about Fleur. She was doing well in high school sports and had lost her enthusiasm for swimming. In the midst of all this confusion, all the swimmers in Seattle had intensified their training, hoping to swim in the 1932 Olympic Games, which were due to be held in Los Angeles. Papa had made arrangements to attend months ahead of time. Mother, who had moved from her tiny apartment into a house, invited us to stay with her. The first test was the regional Olympic tryouts being held at the big, beautiful Janzen Beach swimming pool in Portland, Oregon. I had just turned 15 and was expected to win the 200-meter breaststroke. My race was a disappointment. Although I beat the Washington Athletic Club entry, I was beat out by my own teammate, Betty Meacham. Everyone consoled me. Hey, being second best in the West is nothing to sneeze at. However, I felt that I had let down the whole family. As we got ready to go to the Olympics, our only problem was what to do with Dor's mouse. She asked around the pool for someone to take care of him while we were gone. Immediately, Betty Meacham, who had beat me in the tryouts, volunteered. He can go with us on our yacht to the San Juans. Papa figured that Betty's parents would question our sanity. But when she called and said she had been given permission, Papa said, "Would you believe they'd allow Betty to keep that mouse and take it on a yacht trip to the San Juans?" Mama was uppity. "It's no harder than believing that you'd allow Dorothy to keep a mouse in my house all these years." In Los Angeles, we stayed with Mother and her friend in their roomy house. I was glad to be away from the commercial streets and temptations of the dime store. We attended all of Helene's races. She won 4 gold medals. Jack Medica won a gold medal too. It was a thrill when they came over, still dripping wet, and said, "You'll be in the next Olympics." It sounded so exciting. But when I considered 4 more years of intensive training, my stomach turned sour. I would much rather be singing, playing songs that Fleur learned from the Sheik, or just swimming and diving in the lake for the love of water. The day before our return home, while Papa was out getting the car serviced, Mama and Mother were busy baking in the kitchen. Mama discussed her situation with Mother. She was sympathetic. "I know the drinking is hard for you to put up with. I tried to do it for years. But there's more to it now than just the drinking." Mama was close to tears. Mother put her flowery arms around her and consoled her. Mama went on. "He always drank too much, but the last few years with the pressures from his work, the company is desperate, talking bankruptcy. Roy hates being involved in repossessions. It's so totally against all he believes in." "I know, Tenny." Mama dried her eyes and went to get the pie tins out of the cupboard. "It seems like he wants to destroy himself. He blames me because I don't go along with his drinking." "Well, you've never poured his liquor down the sink like so many wives do." Mama laughed. "No, but one time I poured it into the radiator of the car, remember?" We all remembered that. "You've always been accommodating. He was always free to have his drinks at home, and to have his friends in." "But Roy's drinking is more than just a social occasion. It's an escape. It's as if he has a strong sense of guilt." Mama considered. "Since hearing him and Alice talk, I think I have a better understanding. I think he's always felt like a traitor." Mama was rolling out the crust. She paused. "You know, he was the natural heir of the farm, the one the family looked to carry on. It was very special because his parents had carved it out of the wilderness. His mother especially loved the farm. She came there when she was 19, just after Roy's father built their first small house. She worked shoulder to shoulder with him to clear the land, to build the farm and the granary. Ori and Alice were born there. Then they built the big house and had Roy, their only son." Mama was cutting the crust to shape. "His mother was very strong-willed and determined to keep the farm. But I don't think that Roy's father was a true farmer at heart. He liked being involved in community and business affairs, and he held a number of positions during his lifetime. At one time, he was chairman of Arcadia Township. I think this caused a lot of friction in the home. So when Roy grew up, he didn't want to stay on the farm? Mother asked. He wanted to get an education. His father, who had been forced to leave school at an early age, encouraged him. He sent all the children to college. I suppose college was all right with his mother until she found out that Roy had signed up for law instead of agriculture. So Roy never went back to the farm? Mother asked. No, Mama continued. After he graduated, he worked in a law firm in Winona, Minnesota. But when he heard about the gold rush in Alaska, he applied for an appointment to be a commissioner there. It was a wild life, and Roy loved it. After that, his parents left the farm and moved into town. Mama rolled the crust around the rolling pin. You know, when Alice and Donald were here, I became increasingly aware that Roy simply wasn't himself. I suspected that he was trying to show Alice that he had found a place as good as Wisconsin. It was deeper than geography. It was his whole life he had been trying to justify. Mama carried the flour sifter to the bin. It was a hard time for Roy when his father died, and he had to go back and sell the farm. It brought back all of the old guilty feelings. He still has the inheritance from the sale of the farm. We all want him to buy the house that the girls call the mansion, but he keeps telling us that there are complications. I'm not sure about that. And now he drowns his sorrows with his racy friends. We knew about Papa's racy friends, and although Mama rarely mentioned it, we knew about the lady with the bright red lipstick. They came to our house often, and Dora and I speculated about whether this was the woman who had sent him the racy card. Oh, there you are, you little rascal. You've been a good wife, Tenny, unselfish. You've devoted your life to Roy and your family. You've got so much to lose, Tenny, if you leave. I know. Mama was piling the apples high in the crust, the way Papa liked it. One point, Tenny. Roy has always taken good care of you and the children, and be realistic. How would you support yourself and the girls? Even if you could get a job in this depression, you simply couldn't make enough money. It's a man's world. I know. Mama was putting on the extra dabs of butter, the way Papa liked it. She wiped away another tear, leaving a streak of flour on her cheek. Tenny, this is something that may take a lifetime to learn. Forgiveness. First, we need to accept the forgiveness of God. Then, we need to learn to forgive others. Not just for this or that little sin. We need to forgive each other for being human. That is what sets us free. When we harbor hatred or resentment toward others, the greatest hurt is to ourselves. Mama asked hesitantly, as if she was treading on forbidden territory. Have you forgiven, Father? Mother turned from the sink. I have worked at this for years. Realistically, I know that so much of what happened to your father stems from the accident on the train. Mama put the pies in the oven and closed the door. They both wiped their hands and sat down in the front room, where we girls were sitting. Flor said, What happened on the train, Mother? Mother began painfully. My husband had left to take some of our racehorses on the train to Detroit. When he didn't come home as expected, I called the police. 3 days later, the hospital called. He had been found along the tracks, beaten on the head, robbed of all of his money and identification, and thrown off the train. He never completely recovered. He was moody and angry and began to drink to excess. Mother turned to Mama. I am certain of one thing. If I am to recover, I will have to forgive your father completely. Mama shook her head in agreement. Mother continued, Some people think it helps to make a physical gesture to accompany a commitment. She went to her desk for a piece of paper. Tenny, maybe we need an altar. She drew a footstool up in front of Mama, then pulled her chair up on the other side. Mama took the paper that Mother had handed her and tore it into 2 pieces. I watched as she wrote in her tiny scrawl. I felt that on one, she had written the name of her father, and on the other, Papa. Mother had torn hers into 2 pieces as well. I was certain that on one she had written the name of her husband. I didn't know what name could have been on the other. Maybe Roy. Then they placed the papers on the footstool, which Mother had declared to be an altar. Mother bowed her head. Dear Lord, we believe that you have forgiven us. Help us to forgive others. I was torn, wanting to be a part of the forgiveness, but still feeling a need to be justified for the wrongs I felt had been done to me. After that, it seemed Mama gave up trying to fight the drinking. Only once did I hear her make an ultimatum, after we had started going to Mount Rainier for winter weekends to ski and had a frightening experience on the long climb up the mountain. When we got home, we found that Mickey had been able to brave all the storms on the yacht trip. I think the salt air was good for him, Dor reasoned. Poor Mickey, his luck was running out, and it was all due to Dor's foolishness. She had become more daring, carrying him around in her pocket or in her cupped hands. You never knew when she might spring him on you. One Sunday morning, all of us girls were in Mama's bed. Flora was reading the funnies. She had become the story reader of the family since taking elocution lessons. She had the tendency to race and make her recitation sing-song, but having braces on her teeth had slowed her down. We were all laying perfectly still, spellbound, except for Dor. She was a little fidgety. It was almost as if she were playing with her mouse, but I put the thought out of my head. She had been expressly warned not to bring Mickey within whacking distance of Mama's broom. When her fidgeting was interfering with the drama, I gave her a poke with my elbow. "Lay still!" This brought on a violent reaction from Dor. She sprang up, screaming, "Don't move! Mickey's loose!" As usual, I didn't know if she was serious or not, but it was obvious Mama knew. It was also obvious where Mickey was. She let out a high decibel screech. Just as Dor was coming back down from the ceiling, Mama was on her way up. "Dorothy, he's in my hair!" It was one emotional scene. Bed covers, pillows, 4 screaming females, and 1 little mouse. When it was finally over, and the funny papers had fluttered to the bedroom floor, it was obvious that Mickey had gone looking for a place to listen to the funnies in peace and quiet. Mama wouldn't speak to Dorothy for several days, which didn't bother Dorothy, because she was mad too. If you'd just stayed still like I said, I could have got him. She was mad at me because I had poked her in the ribs. She was even mad at Papa because, at the height of the crisis, he had appeared at the door with his face full of shaving cream, ready to investigate a murder. Dor spent days searching for Mickey, and one day she found a mouse in a trap. Feeling the need to make an end to her grief, she made positive identification. We buried him right beside Never Make It with tears.